Hi everyone, I'm Trucker Ray, and before we get to this week's edition of Trucker's Corner with Trucker Glenn, I was doing some research and looking, and you know what? There may be a job right here that I was looking at that might interest you. So let me read the description for you and see if these perks catch your interest. Effective immediately, every employee hired at this company is required to remain in the office 24 hours a day starting Monday at 5 a.m. Each employee will remain in the office and will not go home until 9 p.m. on Friday. Occasions may arise when employees will not be allowed to go home until late on Saturday or a week from Saturday, and do a 34 or 36-hour downtime in your space. Each employee must bring all clothing and personal necessities that they require with them, so bring a backpack. The company will provide, however, a storage space approximately 2 feet wide by 2 feet deep by 5 feet long for each employee to store their personal items. The employee should be aware, however, that this space is subject to inspection by company or government personnel. Employees will be given a 6x3x2 mattress to sleep on. Employees must provide their own bedding. Their sleeping environment will be very noisy, and there will likely be several interruptions of sleep during each evening. All personal phone calls and business calls will be made via employee cell phones, which they will be solely responsible for paying for. Restrooms will be free, but however, showers will be provided, but a fee will be charged for those services. Employees will bring their own food for the week or eat fast food. Either way, the employee will not be allowed to eat at home. During their non-working hours, employees will be allowed to participate in any activity they choose, so long as it's in the space that they finish their last shift and does not involve spending time with their children or significant others. Furthermore, each employee will be required to maintain a record of work done each week. The amount of time given to complete their work will be strictly regulated, and occasionally the employee will be given more work than they can complete in the allotted time. Also, you will only receive pay for your regular shift, and there will be no compensation for the non-working time. Would you work for a company under these conditions? Well, welcome to trucking. And tell me, how is your 8 to 5 job doing? You say it's too much for you?
This is Trucker's Corner with Trucker Glenn.
Hey everybody, it is Trucker Ray with you with the big guy, Trucker Glenn. Welcome to another edition of Trucker's Corner. And by the intro that you just heard, this is going to be a great episode.
Yeah. So you think you want to be a truck driver?
That's the title of our episode. So you think you want to be a truck driver. And we're almost saying that in a facetious way. So you think you want to be a driver, eh? Well, you know what? The intro couldn't be too far off from being very true, wouldn't you not say?
Yeah, I would say it's bang on. Yeah, bang on.
Yeah.
It's another title we could have had was, if I'd have known then what I know now, would I be driving a truck?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. So
we talked last episode about layovers, but we didn't talk about the things you don't get paid for.
Yeah. Like all your time.
Yeah, all your time. I had a young fella come up to me and he said, what's it take to drive one of those big trucks? And I said, well, it takes you got to go to school nowadays to do it. But I said, do you like to party as a young person? He said, oh yeah, I party just about every weekend. I said, do you like your home life? You married? And he said, yeah, I'm married, got a kid. I said, then don't get into truck driving.
Yeah,
because if you want to end a marriage, that's a good way to do it. So that's one of the downfalls.
Yeah. Just
about all of the people that I know that have been in this industry have gone through at least one marriage.
It's bad, isn't it? It really is bad for that. I actually happen to know 2 drivers that are having issues with their marriage. Probably their marriage is pretty well over. And I don't know if it has something to do with the industry. Or because of their job, especially if you have children. I mean, you know what? If I had young children, I wouldn't drive. You need to be there for your kids, right?
Yeah.
Really do.
Well, that's one of the things that I did wrong. I had 2 kids, boy and a girl, and I was just never there. And the minute you make a promise, you get, what happens, you go pin another load that a truck broke down on, and it's going to, rather than you're going to be home the night before or the night after, and now you're going to be home a week after.
Yeah.
So it's, I would say that you've got to have an awful lot of patience. Patience is one of the biggest things, because you get so frustrated and so upset, and there's nobody there to talk to but you, and you can talk to your truck, I guess, but
Yeah.
but it's a lot of hard work, and to get up and down the road, when you put on the amount of miles that I put on, and you're getting up there now too, you got to pay attention. You got to, you got a lot of responsibility. What would you think you've gotten in the average load with your truck and trailer and load? You've probably got close to $1 million that you're playing around with, right? That
Sure.
you're responsible for.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah. So let's just say, hypothetically, we've got somebody watching that is going for their class 1. Maybe they're single. Maybe they have a girlfriend, and or vice versa. Maybe it's a female, got a boyfriend, and they're thinking about marriage. And what would you say to that person right there? I mean, especially when they realize, maybe they may just want to do city driving. That might be an option. But if they're thinking long haul, well, they may want to evaluate this a little bit.
Yeah. It's not fair to your family to be away from home for so long. I know some outfits, they won't hire you on unless you're going to dedicate yourself to at least 2 weeks away from home.
Right.
2 to 3 weeks. Well, I've often said I don't blame the wives for wanting a divorce, because you're just not there. And here's the negative. When you get home, it's okay, I'm home now. I will take over as leader. And they're going to say, no, you're not. So,
Yeah, that's about it, isn't it?
I was depressed for about 4 days when my wife told me that.
Yeah. Well, fortunately, when we've heard about this on previous episodes.
Yeah.
Your wife went out with you on the road, and that's an option too. Maybe you might have somebody in your life that will want to go out with you, but I don't know how long that's going to last. But as soon as there's an opportunity to actually build a family, well, things are going to look a little bit different. So I'm a single guy, and I know that there were times when I had a relationship. It really was hard on the relationship. And that relationship didn't work out because I didn't feel right being out on the road so long when that person would want me to come and visit and take them out for dinner, whatever, just spend time with them. And personally, right now, I would not get involved with a relationship unless it was another driver. And maybe I could trust her and she could drive with me, whatever, if I was married, that is. But I just think it would be too tough. Try to dedicate yourself to 2 different things, like a relationship and your driving, because you really need to put everything you have into this industry, because there's just, I don't know. I don't have to explain it to you,
Yeah, you got to be at the top of your game, and like I've said in other episodes, if you've got trouble at home, what's your attitude going to be like? And I'm a firm believer that attitude is at the top of the list. You can train anybody to drive, but you can't train them to have a good attitude.
Yeah.
And so when you're if you're thinking of getting into this industry, it robs a lot of your time, and your time isn't your own, and you belong to everybody else but at home. And that's one of the worst, I think, the worst detriments of getting into this industry if you're going to be a line driver.
Yeah. Well, back in the day when you were driving, did you have more home time than the average driver now?
I would say yes, because the companies that I drove for, they are what I would call regional, where we did a lot of switches. In British Columbia, we would go halfway across the province, and we'd meet another truck, and then we'd just switch loads. Sometimes we'd switch trucks and loads. and come back home. So you were only gone for a few, maybe 12 hours, and you did that 5 days a week type thing, and you got your weekends off.
Yeah.
So that wasn't too bad.
Yeah, and a lot of the trucks earlier in the day, they didn't even have sleepers, did they? So,
No.
I mean, you would either be put into a hotel or they'd made sure you got home, and the wife would see you more. But nowadays, trucks are equipped with, well, mine didn't come with it, but it has a fridge, you get a microwave, it has everything you need in it to sustain you, which really does enable you to be out on the road constantly. And I don't know how well that would go with a young relationship.
It wouldn't. I know it wouldn't. It's, I forgot my train of thought there, but...
That's okay. It happens all the time with you.
Yeah. They say that memory's the second thing to go.
Yeah. What's the first thing? Your hair?
I can't remember. But anyways, what's the good parts? The good parts of driving the truck, I don't know. I was always proud of what I did.
Well, we're not trying to be hold on. We're not trying to be a negative Nelly, people. We're just saying that this is something you should consider, but there are obvious really good perks to the job. And you can roll with that, but the first thing I can think of is just the amazing scenery we see every single day when we're driving down the road. Go ahead, continue.
I've always said, how many people pay to see this, especially British Columbia.
Yeah.
It's such an adverse or diverse, I should say, country where you can be skiing in the morning and playing golf in the afternoon, and you'll get mini Grand Canyons and forests and lakes and rivers, and it's to do that and get paid for it, to see all that stuff, is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it is. And especially when you get down into the U.S. and you travel like the 84 out of Portland and you're heading all the way to Idaho. That's an incredible view along the Columbia River. And it is. God has given us a beautiful planet. And just to be able to explore, I mean, nowhere near explored all of it, but it's just, if you love scenery, if you love traveling, it's definitely for you. I mean, one other thing too, how long did it take you when you first started driving? I mean, started really driving long distances. How long did it take you to adapt without falling asleep behind the wheel? If you know what I mean.
Yeah, it took a little while because it's a totally different lifestyle, right? And it's used to do a lot of quick cat naps.
Yeah.
In the really early days, sometimes we'd go for 2-3 days without really sleeping. You just kind of catch 10 minutes here and there, and you'd be going again. But of course, you can't get away with that anymore. But one thing I noticed, that in the difference between when I was trucking way back then, there was never any accidents. Very, very, very few truck accidents. Mind you, we didn't have the traffic, but and loads always got there on time, and we always had time to stop and party a little bit and carry on. But nowadays, I find the more things get regulated, the tougher this job gets.
Yeah.
And it plays a lot on your mind.
Yeah. So definitely the traveling, adapting to the driving. When I first started driving, I know I mentioned this before, I remember the very first trip I was with Challenger, and within 5 hours I needed a nap. I couldn't get my eyes open. And this was during the day. Just the driving, staring at the road, watching the lines, the scenery, everything going by. Even though I was excited about the trip, I was still just bagged and tired. I'm like, how does anybody adjust to this? So I'd have to stop. And I found that if you take like a 45-minute or a 35-minute nap, you really feel refreshed. If you sleep longer than an hour, you're tired. You're overtired. Yeah. And now you're back where you started. So I would stop every once in a while and take a 45-minute nap. I'd set my alarm on my phone and I'd be fine. Eventually, I adapted. Now I can drive easily 13 straight hours if I need to. I've done that from Dryden, or not Dryden, but Ontario all the way to Balgony in in the Regina area, and one shot, except for stopping for fuel. Stopping where I'm at, not tired at all, a little hungry, but you really do have to adjust to it. So if you have an issue with driving long distances, or if you're keeping awake, that may be something else you might want to think of. But you will adapt. I mean, if you're a new driver, would you not say that, they're having, how are you staying awake? Your body does adapt. It does adjust.
Yeah, it's it's like any profession that you take on. The longer you do it, the better you get at it.
Yep, that's right. Just like strength training or whatever, right? You're going to be able to lift certain things, minimal things, but once you're training more, you can lift more. It's kind of the same thing when you're driving. So, what other perks can you think of about the industry?
I always like when new equipment comes out, I always like to be part of that. Like, I remember when the Pikes first came out into Canada, and because I was a professional driver, I wanted to have a license to drive one of those things. And when you get up to the big stuff, it's really rewarding.
Yeah.
You get I think I was 136 feet long with both the trailers on. And
for those that don't know what a Pike is, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt. It's an LCV, long combination vehicle. So you have up to you have two trailers instead of one.
Yes.
So.
Yes. Yeah, 253-foot trailers and whatever your truck is. I just happen to be 136 feet long.
Yeah.
And I remember going through Saskatoon, I think it was Saskatoon, where you got that, when you go the north route there and you've got that really tight turn, you got to cross over the freeway and then back onto a 2-lane road. And
wow.
I didn't think I was going to get around the corner.
I know that one.
Yeah. And the cars just stop because they're used to seeing you now. They just let you take the whole road to get around there. But I always found that really rewarding, being able to look in the mirror when you got home and thought, I did a good job today. I got my load there on time. I did it professionally. I didn't come close to getting a ticket or being in an accident.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of rewards like that. I mean, it might sound silly to somebody who's first wanting to get into this, but it's when you can say you've gone up and down the road for 50 years and you don't have anything onto your license, that's something to be proud of.
That is quite an accomplishment. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
so go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was going to say it's not that far off of what you're saying there. Even when I cross the border, every single time when I cross the border from the U.S. into Canada, I do a fist pump. Not because, hey, I got away with smuggling anything. I accomplished a full rounder. I got my load delivered, and I'm back in time to deliver my load on time. And I'm also excited about being able to rest for the next 36 hours or whatever it is, doing my reset. But it is an accomplishment, being able to do that. Yeah. Hey, you got it back in one piece. You're on time. Everybody's happy. And for you not to, and if you're a driver and you don't do that, if you don't reward yourself, you're missing out. You really should, because it's a huge accomplishment if you think about it, especially some of these loads that need to be back in 2.5 days. You're like, how am I going to do this? And then you're calculating the times, you're working it out, how fast I'm going to be going. I got to deal with the hills here. Where am I going to be fueling? Where am I going to be stopping? And when you get back and your load is delivered on time, that's a huge accomplishment. So you should give yourself a pat on the back a little more often.
Yeah.
So I would say that if you are getting into the industry, you want to get into the industry, and you're not absolutely sure if this is really for you or not, well, if you've already went and accomplished getting your driver's license, that's wonderful. Congratulations on that. Maybe long haul is for you. Maybe short haul is for you. I found that when I got into the industry, obviously I loved it. I fell in love with it. I came off the road a couple times in my career to do other things, drive a garbage truck. And right away, I'm like, within the first week, I'm like, I miss the highway too much. This isn't for me. It isn't for me. You're going to know real quick whether or not this industry is for you or not. But I would say, before you spend all that money on getting your CDL or your Class 1 or Class A or whatever it is, where you are, you may want to maybe, what would you say there, Glenn? Maybe go out with somebody a couple times in, that you might know in the industry to see whether or not this is for you?
Yeah, well, I did town driving before I started, and the fellow that taught me everything I know, Ross McLeod, he took me out on several trips, and that's when I got the bug. I said, I got to do this, because number one, there's nobody looking over your shoulder, so that's a good point. You're your own boss.
Yeah.
You eat when you're hungry, and sleep when you're tired, and as long as you're on time and you get your loads delivered fine, that's good. But I think that you should do both, because like you said, you might not be for the highway, and in town you got a lot of perks in town. You're home every night, you're sleeping in your own bed, you're eating home cooked meals all the time, and some guys like that, some guys don't like to be away.
Yeah.
And I know when I was working for a couple of companies, they had what we call milk runs, where you had 15 or 16 drop-offs in the city, and I didn't like that. He said, "What do you want?" If he asked me what I wanted, town or highway, give me the long miles. I don't want to be in town. It just drove me nuts. The traffic, especially.
Yeah. Yeah. I receive actually quite a bit of emails and messages, the videos that I make of people just getting their CDL or their Class 1, or again, whatever they call it, Class A, whatever part of the country or the world that they're in. And it does open their eyes to what it's like out there, and they're like wondering, is it really all that wonderful out there? And you know what? The bottom line is, trucking, and I think you would agree with me, Glenn, trucking is not a job. It's a lifestyle. It really is. Yeah. Because you are eat, sleep, drinking, trucking. And when you're home on a reset, you get out of your truck. Make sure you do get out of your truck. I don't do it enough. Go visit family. Go see friends. If you're married, whatever. If you're not, if you're single, go see your family. Get out of your truck. Go to places. Just get away from it. Because once you get back in that truck, you can be on the road for several weeks, and that's all you're doing. It's like, and like at the beginning of the intro, how many hours? Like, as soon as you wake up, say it's 5 or 6 a.m., right till you go to bed, that is all your job right there. And even though you're stopped for the night at 6 o'clock at night, you're still in your truck. You're still a truck driver. And unfortunately, if you can't adapt to that, maybe it's not for you. But to other people, they're okay with it. I'm okay with it. That's probably because I'm a bit nuts, but I'm all right with it.
I was going to say, trucking isn't what you do, it's who you are.
There you go.
Yeah. And, it's like any profession. Drivers were born, not made.
Yeah.
And same with any profession, actually. But that sums it up. It's not what you do; it's who you are.
Yeah, exactly.
And if you like being by yourself a lot, it's an excellent profession to be in, because lots of times the only person you talk to is the waitress when you're ordering your lunch or dinner, and other than that. And there really isn't any of that. Not now. No. They don't have time anymore.
Well, you don't. You don't have time to do that. No. Most drivers are sitting in their truck eating their food, or if they're in the truck stop waiting to get into a shower, they're all on their phones. Nobody socializes anymore. You don't have guys talking to each other, and they're all staring at their telephones. It's really sad, actually. But now we have an app. I don't know if you knew about this, but you probably do. Most of the apps now at the Flying J, the Loves, and all these places, you can actually order a shower right from your truck. And you just order it. It tells you your shower's ready, and you just go in, punch the code in, you're in. So again, that is removing us from socializing with anybody in the truck stop. And again, you are more confined to your truck. So if you're okay with that, if you think you're all right with that, maybe that is the lifestyle that you're okay with. Again, I would say if you're a single person, that may be for you. I don't know how well that would work with somebody who is married. Unless, you take your spouse with you.
And you got to be a thinker and a planner as well.
Yeah.
You got to be able to those are part of the qualifications, because you're doing, well, nowadays I guess the GPS does a lot of your road planning, but you still got to be able to say, okay, I'm going to do 650 miles a day, and it's it's going to take me 4 days to get to where I have to go or whatever. You got to be able to plan that out.
Yeah, and so I mean, we could talk about this for hours. We really could, and maybe one day we should do a live stream about this. The pros and cons of trucking, and have people call or message in their questions or whatever. But basically, we're not trying to downplay it. It is. I mean, I'm doing it. I enjoy it. You did it for 50 years. Obviously, we did love the job. There are its perks, there are its downs. It's just be prepared ahead of time. Do your research on it. And as you were mentioning, when you're in a truck by yourself, a lot of people have companions. They have dogs. I know some people that have cats. Me personally, I don't like having any kind of an animal in my truck because I can barely handle myself. So having an animal in your truck, I run hard. So stopping every 5-6 hours doesn't work for me.
All the dogs and cats you had ran away, didn't they?
Yeah. I didn't tell anybody about that. How did you know?
I just knew.
Yeah. So anyway, like I said, we could talk about this so much in so much more detail, but that's about all the time we have for today. So anything else you wanted to follow up with or finish with?
I was just going to say, if anybody wants to know anything, drop us a line, let us know, and we'll talk about it.
Sure.
And, there's no topic or question that's too stupid. It's just, don't feel embarrassed or ashamed. If you want to know something, drop us a line.
Yeah. We'd be more than happy to dedicate an entire program. If we have multiple questions, we can do multiple responses on one video. You can send that to truckerglenn10, that's the number 10 at gmail.com, truckerglenn10 at gmail.com. Sir, it's always a pleasure to talk with you. Thank you.
Yes, it is.
I love your humbleness. See you later, everybody.
Say hi to the people. I'll have to keep her on my lap, I guess.
That's too funny.